Crystal, thank you very much. Violent protests, meanwhile, spreading throughout North Africa and the Middle East over a film that insults the Prophet Muhammad. At this hour, the U.S. Embassy in Sudan says that protesters have not breached the compound, but there are approximately 2,000 demonstrators still outside the gates. Egyptian riot police clashed with hundreds of protesters just blocks away from the U.S. Embassy in Cairo. In Yemen, a crowd of nearly 2,000 tried to march to the U.S. Embassy in the capital of Sana'a. Security forces tried to break up the crowds, firing live rounds in the air. In Tunisia, where the Arab Spring, of course, began, thousands protested outside the U.S. Embassy. Police responded with tear gas. NBC's Richard Engel joins me now by phone from Cairo. Richard, there's been a lot of tension with President Morsi, and some signs, I think you've been reporting overnight, that the Egyptian government was trying to reassert control, do a better job of it. What are you seeing today?
We're seeing that this is spreading beyond Egypt, and there's lots of small little demonstrations, and not all of them are against the United States. There was a tiny attack by some Bedouins in the Sinai against a UN peacekeeper mission. This is a peacekeeper mission that most people had even forgotten exists there. In the Sudan, there were protests against the German embassy, which had nothing to do with the film, against the British embassy, which is right next door. It has become an expression of rage by radicals who are just whipped up into a frenzy because of what they're seeing on television, reports about the Muslim prophet being insulted. And that's really all they need to hear, this segment of extreme radicals, for them to go out and attack almost anything that they can find that represents the other, the West, thus the threats in this case.
So the film was the proximate cause, at least initially, in Egyptian media. But this has now become a completely different kind of protest. It seems to be incipient rage, anti-American. What does it say about U.S. policy in the region, Richard, that in following up for the hopeful signs that we first saw with the Arab Spring, that now we have a completely unpredictable situation throughout the region?
It's showing the dark under, unfortunately, of not only the Arab Spring, but a lot of this region. There are a tremendous number of intellectuals and people who are clamoring out for freedom, but there's also a great undercurrent of rage and ignorance, and that is not new. It is to a degree a product of the dictatorships that were here that deliberately miseducated the people and fed them lies and conspiracy theories and told them that Islam was under threat and that these governments were the only ones to protect them. We're seeing this bubbling up in communities all over North Africa and the Middle East. Also, we're seeing that they're recognizing that the U.S. diplomatic facilities aren't as secure as they thought. It took one person or one group of people here in Egypt to test it out. They got over the wall and nothing really happened. And then, and this is all being covered play-by-play on Arabic television and in the internet. Then they saw people got into the embassy in Yemen. That wasn't so hard. Then they were able to light fires right in front of the Tunisian embassy. And it broke that wall of fear, and now other people, other extremists around the world are communicating with each other and say, hey, we can do this.
Richard Engel, stay safe, my friend. Thanks very much. Thanks for your reporting.